Hello, this is how to contribute to the KDE community by creating newer screenshots of KDE applications. The screenshots already exist. You're creating fresher versions of those screenshots. Because maybe the screenshot has been created 5 years ago, it might use a previous KDE Qt widgets theme such as Oxygen, and nowadays the default KDE Qt widgets theme is another one. The KDE applications have two types of screenshots. One is the ones that we see in upstream XML files on apps.kde.org and in this Git repository, invent.kde.org/website/product-screenshots. For instance, this is how the homepage of the application Clickety looks like in apps.kde.org/clickety. This is a screenshot. Some other applications have more than one screenshot. And in this page, apps.kde.org, they will have a way to navigate through those screenshots. Let's install this application Clickety on my machine and see the XML file and see how we can create a new version of this screenshot. Why do we want a new version? Because nowadays the window decoration for KWin is rounded at the bottoms. So all of the four corners of the window are rounded, not just the top left and top right, but also bottom right and bottom left. Another type of screenshots are the screenshots in the product manual. So first we'll install the application. Sudo apt install Clickety. Let's run the application. And unfortunately, I'm using an older version of KDE Plasma. I'm using the Linux operating system Ubuntu 25.10, and the window decoration doesn't have rounded corners at the bottom left corner and at the bottom right corner. So I cannot use this version of KWin, this window decoration, and in general this operating system to take screenshots. For that, I have created a virtual machine using Virt Manager of Ubuntu 2604. This operating system was not released yet. It's going to be released in 4 months from now, but still the ISO files and the operating system can be installed in a virtual machine, and it's stable enough for my use cases. I just want to be able to run KDE applications that I build from source, from the Git master branch, and use the default settings present in Ubuntu 2604, the default KDE Plasma theming, and the default KDE Qt widgets theme, KDE QML QQC2 theme, such that I can create screenshots. Okay, let's look a bit at the manual. So the application Clickety, main menu, help, and then Clickety handbook. This is called a product manual in other places, but in the KDE community are called handbooks. These use the technology that's called DocBook. They are translatable in different languages other than English US. Let's look a bit at the screenshots for this application from its handbook. We're going to press next. We're inside the application KDE Help Center. So next until we find a screenshot. So in this place, this is the application how it looks like by default. We can see that the KWin theme is older. We can see that the icon theme is different. The new button is different. The pause icon is different. And also the theming of this combo box is different. The shadow of the window decoration of KWin is different. So the shadow that I can see here only has a very, very thin shadow on the bottom and on the right side. I cannot see any shadow on the left and on the top. And anyhow, the shadow is extremely, extremely thin. It's like, I don't know, 5 pixels wide. Whereas the default shadow in the current version of KDE Plasma is extremely wide. It's, I don't know, 100 pixels. And that would create issues because if I take now a screenshot of the application, let's do that. Let's create a screenshot of just the Clickety application. So from Spectacle, new screenshot, active window, options include window shadow, new screenshot, active window. And now if we open this in GIMP, such that we can see better the size of the shadow. So this is the size of the shadow. Let's have the application KRuler installed. Let's open the application. And let's measure the size of the default KWin window decoration, the shadow. So the shadow is 64 pixels on each, on left and right. On the top, on the bottom, it's 78. And on the top, it's 54 pixels. So that's a ton of pixels. If you compare to what we can see in the existing screenshot, which is probably 0 pixels for the height of the shadow on the top, and maybe, I know, 10 pixels for the shadow at the bottom, and yeah, also probably 10 pixels for the shadow on the right. So because the shadow is so large, this entire page will look different even if we take the screenshot where the application has the exact same size as the existing screenshot. So what we want to do is to keep the product manual, the handbook, pretty much unchanged. We only want to refresh the screenshots, nothing else. And if the size of the old image is identical to the size of the new image, then probably the pages will not reflow, and the version of the handbook, if we regenerate it both in HTML version and also in PDF version, will look pretty similar with a similar number of pages, for instance, in the PDF version. This is how the virtual machine looks like. So a newer version of Kubuntu 26.04, where we can see that the bottom right and bottom left corners of windows are rounded. I'll reconnect, but I'll continue the recording from inside the virtual machine. Thank you for subscribing and helping this YouTube channel. We're now inside the virtual machine, Kubuntu 26.04. Again, in here we have rounded corners on all four corners of Windows. And I have also installed the KDE Builder framework, and inside it and using it, I have installed the application Clickety, which means that we are going to be able to take very, very fresh screenshots of the application running as it is in the Git master branch. The steps were, I went to the KDE.org official KDE website, and then from this hamburger menu or from the main menu, I go get involved, scroll until development, and in here I'm using a Linux operating system in a virtual machine, and I have a new enough version of Qt 6. I am setting up KDE Builder, so this button, and I have just run this. Then I have restarted the computer in order for the tilde/local directory to start existing and then to be part of the path environment variable. Then I have run this, which generated this configuration file. And then I have installed the deb packages from Ubuntu, which are needed in order to build the KDE frameworks version 5 and version 6, including Qt 5 and Qt 6. And then I have started building modules. I have built kconfig just to make sure that the KDE Builder framework has been configured and installed correctly. And then instead of kcalc, I have built the application that I'm interested in, which is Clickety. I have encountered a number of issues. First of all, kconfig failed to build, and that was because of the Python bindings. There's some issue there with LLVM. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but the fix was to tell CMake to disable, to not build Python bindings. And that some KDE frameworks version 6 have Python bindings. I'm not really interested into building the Python bindings because there's not really many users of the Python bindings of the KDE frameworks version 6. Okay, and with this change, I could build everything. And in here, I also changed the num cores from auto, which is, I'm not exactly what, to 7. This is a virtual machine. I have 8 vCPUs, so 8 CPU threads, and I wanted to have one of it always free. So 8 minus 1 would be 7. Okay, so that is this KDE minus builder, and then the name of the application, Clickety. All of the modules have been built before, so a second invocation of KDE minus builder space Clickety will do an incremental build, not a full rebuild, and it will be pretty fast. Let's start the application and see how it looks like. Okay, so this is screenshot material. It's Clickety built from the Git master branch, so extremely fresh. And the window decoration looks okay. Next up, what we want to consider is the size of the shadow, which can be configured from system settings. You search for shadow, and it takes you to window decorations. You choose the one that's default. Make sure you don't change the default window decoration. So breeze, click on this button to edit the breeze theme. And then chapter shadows, on the tab shadows and outline, you change the size of shadows. The default value for the combo box shadow size is large. And maybe the screenshots that we take for the product manuals or the handbooks are better if we specify the shadow size to be small, or maybe even none. We'll see which one looks better after we regenerate the handbook, and then we compare side by side the existing version of the handbook and the new version of the handbook. So I'm going to go with small for now. Okay, this is how it looks like. Let's create a screenshot. New screenshot, active window. It has the shadows. Let's open the application in GIMP and see the size of the shadows. A ruler. So on the left there was nothing in the existing screenshot. On the right there was 10, and on the top there was nothing, and now it's 615, and at the bottom, I'm not sure why I cannot move the ruler correctly. Something's not wrong, not correct. It snaps instead of moving pixel by pixel. How can we move the thing? We can't. So I cannot prove that KRuler works in this particular case. Okay, but it's probably 25 pixels. So maybe the small shadow is okay, and the newly generated handbook will look very similar to the old version of the handbook. Next up, we probably want to resize the new screenshot to have the exact same size as the old screenshot. So let's do that. From the Clickety application main menu, Clickety handbook, a number of next presses, and we get to this place. Let's see if we can find this actual screenshot on the disk. Whoa. And then we'll create a screenshot that's exactly the same size, at least the window, maybe not the shadows, or maybe with the shadow, as the existing screenshot. So for that, we have built Clickety using, how do we minimize this thing? Alt F1, Alt F2, Alt F3, minimize. Okay, so we have built Clickety using KDE Builder, which means that the source code and the Git repository is in Git in ~kd/src/clickety. In here we have a directory called doc, and in here we have the doc book, so the XML file that is being used is the source that specifies everything that you see in here. So the fact that there's a chapter called chapter 2 how to play, and then there's this note in here with a title objective colon, all of the text, and the fact that a screenshot is expected after the game screen in here. And the screenshot is a file that exists on the disk that's named gamescreen.png. Let's see that file. So gamescreen.png, this guy. Let's open both files in the GIMP and look at them. How do we find out the image properties? So the file that already exists is has this size. So existing. Okay, and I was wrong. There exists a bit of shadow both on the left and on the top. But you can see that the shadow is indeed wider on the right side and on the bottom. Let's see the sizes. So this is 5. This on the left is probably also 5. Okay, and then we compare it with the new shadows. It's instead of 5, 15 on the left. Instead of 5, 13 on the top. And I'm not exactly sure if the left and right shadows are going to be a problem, because the box that surrounds the image, this group box, this panel, will resize according to the HTML page width this way. So if you make the help center really, really narrow, the screenshot, including the surrounding box, will get scaled down. So I guess this is what we actually want, small shadows. I see them similar to the existing shadows. And this is what I'm going to use, at least for the screenshots that are for the product manuals. I'm going to use KWin window decoration shadow size is small. For the other type of screenshots, the ones for apps.kd.org and for upstream, and for product screenshots Git repository, there probably a good idea is to use the default size for the shadow, which is large. Next up, I want to compute the size of the actual application of the window, and then I'm going to resize the existing window. So the sizes are 467. Okay. And height. I'm not sure why these the sizes of the windows are so random. It could be 550, but instead it's 553, the height. Okay, so let's take the application that's running and make it have this exact same size. Five three, so it needs to be a bit taller. A bit more. And more. Too much. This is going to be a struggle. Okay, this is it, 553. And width 467. And now I can see why this is the size, because the button play sounds appeared. Okay, so there's an actual reason for the seemingly random width and height of the windows in the screenshots. Okay, because we wanted the new screenshot to be very similar to the existing ones, and if the existing ones have displayed 5 buttons in the main toolbar, including the play sounds button, then it makes sense for the new screenshot to display as many buttons. Maybe in the text immediately after, there's an explanation for what the play sounds button do. Whereas if we left the size of the clickety window to its default, the button play sounds would not have been visible, yet the text would say that please see the previous screenshot. In the main toolbar there's a play sounds button. So the text would talk about the button, but then the screenshot would not show that button. Okay, let's take another screenshot, print screen, new screenshot, active window. Let's see if it takes a screenshot of the shadow, title bar, borders, correct, and yeah, the mouse pointer is included, but you should not hover with the mouse on top of the screenshot. I have seen really few screenshots that have a mouse cursor on top, maybe 0. Okay, so let's open this thing with the GIMP again and compare the two screenshots. I'm just switching between the two tabs. Yeah, they look similar enough. The same text, the same buttons, the same icons. And we should probably switch to medium from easy. Let's do that too. Okay, take another screenshot. Active window. Open with GIMP. And compare the first, which is the old, and the last, which is the new. So old versus new. This is 160, medium, play sounds. When you take screenshots, make sure that you're not reproducing the bug where the main menu has a different background color from the title bar of the window. So the window decoration background color should be identical to the background color of the main menu, which is the case. Okay, so I like this screenshot. Next up, I want to put it into the same place. Let's save the file first and we'll optimize it and then we'll replace the existing files. So in GIMP, we didn't actually edit anything in GIMP. We only used GIMP to compare the two files. So you might get away with not using GIMP, which means that in the KDE screenshot application, in Spectacle, you can just go save as. Let's actually do that. Okay. And the name of the file is predefined and is this thing. gamescreen.png. Save. Let's go over my notes. So my wiki page and mariusp.github.io. The last link in here. This link with can I do a merge request in less than 2 hours. In here we search for state of the art and screenshots. This is an entire chapter about how to improve existing screenshots in the KDE community. Again, there's two types of screenshots, appkde.org, apps.kde.org upstream, and product screenshots versus the handbooks. On handbooks, I am trying to use very narrow shadows. And on the first type of screenshots, I'm going to probably use the default size for shadows. Okay. We followed these instructions. So there's a Clickety handbook. There are old screenshots. All of the screenshots in the handbook use the same older KDE K-Win decoration, window decoration. I am using the keyboard key print screen, which will start the KDE screenshot application, which is called Spectacle. From the options, you saw that I have selected include window title bar and borders and include window shadow. Okay, so include mouse pointer is excluded for screenshots. So this is for taking, this group box is for taking PNG files, images, whereas this group box, this thing is for creating videos from your screen. So screen recording versus screenshot. Yeah, it's a good idea to not include a mouse pointer because most screenshots will not have an accidental mouse pointer on top of the screenshot. Okay, and then If you want to put your screenshot into the KDE Git repository invent.kde.org/websites/product-screenshots, there's a top-level readme.md file where it says about how you can take screenshots. What are the guidelines for taking screenshots? Okay, so says that the screenshots will be used as part of KDE applications, will probably be used as part of KDE Plasma. We should use the same theming and styling and look and feel for most of the screenshots taken for KDE Plasma desktop applications, which means that we should use the default settings, the default KWin window decoration, the default global Plasma theme, the default Plasma theme, the default mouse cursor theme, the default icon theme, the default Qt widgets theme, the default Kirigami QQC2 QML theme, the default fonts, font sizes, if the font is bold or not, font families, etc. And the default style actually is light. We want the defaults that are preferred by the KDE community, but then if we're using an operating system that doesn't exactly use the same defaults that the KDE community wants, maybe, I know, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed changes a bit the theme to have more green, or maybe another Linux operating system will default to a dark theme, not to a light theme. So make sure you're using an operating system that's pre-configured correctly with the defaults for theming that the KDE community wants. The screenshots should be in English. I have seen some screenshots being translated in other languages that English in the sense of English US, not English UK. And also in applications, you can fiddle with the settings and themes and card packs and all of the other things. So keep the application using the default settings. And it also says that if it's clear to you that the application doesn't work correctly, or if the screenshot will not be okay because there's an obvious, I know, regression in the application that you're just running, maybe you have built it incorrectly, maybe you're running it from from FlatHub and there's incorrect icon themes in there. Do make sure that the screenshots and the windows that are being screenshotted look okay and intuitively seem to not be buggy to you. Okay, meta info in the sense of upstream. So upstream is a standard which in our case for KDE graphical user interface applications, there's an XML file with extension upstream.xml or metainfo.xml that describes that application, the name of the application, the subtitle of the application, the description of the application, screenshots of the application, the homepage, where to report bugs, licensing information, who created the application, changelog for the application. And then this upstream file is being reused in multiple places in the major Linux operating systems. They are part of the metadata when you're installing packages are going to be used by app stores such as the KDE Plasma Discover App Store, are going to be used by the FlatHub Flatpak App Store, by the Snap Online App Store, etc. Also, let's note this line. It says, before publishing, please use the command line executable optpng on your PNG files, on your screenshots, to make sure that they don't have useless size. So a PNG file, PNG is a lossless compression format for images, which means that the pixels as you see them on the screen, exactly all of those pixels will be part of the PNG file, but they will be compressed. So the resulting PNG file will be really, really small, but no quality will be lost. All of the pixels will be there with their correct transparency, colors, everything else. But still, sometimes you can shrink PNG files, sometimes even, I don't know, 10%, because there's this optimization command line application, optpng, that can remove all of the things that are not actually visible by users, such as, I don't know, metadata, EXIF data, who created the file, when was the screenshot taken, what type of mobile phone was used to create the screenshot, etc. So, who knows? There are some information which exists in the body of the PNG that's not absolutely required, such that the PNG is displayed perfectly correctly. So we should install optpng and use it. Let's see how we do that. So apt search optpng. There's an optpng deb package. Let's install it. Okay, next up, we have the correct old screenshot and the correct new screenshot. But we didn't run optpng on the new one. So let's do that. So opti, and then the name of the file, hopefully. So optpng, and then the name of the file is a mandatory parameter. All of the other options are optional. And it can handle files not just with PNG extension, but also with other extensions. We're going to take all of the screenshots as with extension PNG because we want lossless compression. JPEG would be lossy compression. Keep a backup, overwrite, force, out file. Let's see how that thing works. So says a 7.5% decrease. Let's see if the file has been modified right now. It didn't confirm, it didn't say, do you really want to overwrite gamescreen.png? So I'm not exactly sure if the file has been overwritten or not. So it says that the M time is 43 minutes and now it's 44 minutes. We took the screenshot maybe 10 minutes ago. So yes, the file was modified. The size is 20 kilobytes. The previous file was 16 kilobytes, so everything looks okay. We don't want to put large files in Git because these files are binary and Git doesn't really like binary files in the history. So there should be few changes to PNG files, to screenshots. Maybe, I don't know, even if the screenshots are a bit out of date, don't replace them just to be extra fresh and new, because that will create unnecessary changes in binary files in Git repositories. But in this case, it's justified because at least the window decoration theme is totally different. If the screenshots would be mostly similar, but just one has left bottom rounded corner and the other doesn't, maybe it's not a good idea to create new screenshots and write the Git repository because of Git history and binary files. Okay, so let's overwrite the file. Overwrite, yes. And let's see in the Git history how the things look like. Says that Git GUI does not exist. Let's install it. So I'm the user root now. I want to install Git GUI. I already have installed Git because I have installed KDE-builder and that has installed Git. I also want Git K and Git GUI. These are two graphical user interface applications from the upstream Git repository. So from the official Git project, there's also both the command line application Git, but also the graphical user interface applications Git GUI and Git K. Okay. So it says that let's fetch again from origin. No need because KDE-builder has already fetched very recently the remote Git repository. Okay, both the remote master branch and the local Git master branch point to the same Git commit, which is a good thing. And then there's a file changed, doc/gamescreen.png. We can compare the way the two look. For instance, like this. I have opened Git GUI, which is a graphical user interface application, and it has taken over the console terminal. So let's free the console terminal. Let's go back to the REPL, Control Z, BG. One of the ways to do it, for instance, is to make a copy of the Git, the directory where we Git cloned. So tilde/kd/src/clickety, Control C, Control V. Click on the old. And in here, we're going to do Git operations. So on click at the old, we should be with both master branches, the remote one and the local one, pointing to the same Git commit. And we don't want the change. So the change has been staged. Let's remove it from there. And then let's remove the change altogether. Commit, revert changes, Control J. Okay, so now the local Git repository is identical to the remote origin Git repository. there's no changes. At this point, we can compare the new directory and the old directory using the application that I prefer, which is called Meld, which I don't have yet installed. Install Meld. Yes. Okay, this dialog doesn't refresh, which is expected. So double selection, two directories selected at the same time with click and then control click, right click, open with, other, and then write yourself MELD, meld. Okay, and you can see that just one file has changed. Unfortunately, it shows the PNG files in a hex viewer, and then it shows that comparison. Okay, how can we compare them? Yeah, I don't know, manually navigate to the same places, to the two directories, and open the files side by side as I did with the default image viewer in KDE. So that's dock and game screen. So I just double click on the file. This is the new, and click at the old dock and then game screen. And this is the old. After you're proposing a merge request as part of the diff viewer in GitLab, it will actually show the two files side by side, the change for this file. It will say that it has changed from looking like this to looking like this. So GitLab has this feature where if a PNG file has been changed as part of a Git commit, it will actually show the two images side by side so you can visually compare them as images, not as hexadecimal content of the .png file. Okay, so let's do the commit. We're in the correct, not in the clickety_old, but in the clickety directory, ~kd/src/clickety. We have staged the change for the file doc game screen, and I'm going to create a git commit message. So where and what? New screenshot. Okay, and you can eventually detail in the git commit message body, you can say uses the current window decoration and window shadow. It's totally not needed to have this text, because if you're creating the screenshots with the wrong window decoration, then you're violating the screenshot making guidelines. So this part. If you don't have window shadow, then you might or not violate the guidelines. If you're changing the window shadow sizes, as I did, you might or not violate this guideline to show the default setting, showing the default window decoration on a recent Plasma. So who knows? About the KWin window decoration shadow size, I'm going to make an exception. So I will totally not have this text. And I would probably improve at least half of these screenshots. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screenshots. I would either do a git commit with half of them or with all of them updated, because we don't really want to create many git commits for what is just one change, and maybe, I know, Git handles better changes with less git commits, but containing changed PNG binary files. Yeah, usually you want to have your git commits as small as possible, so just one small change, one git commit, and then one merge request. But in this case, having 7 git commits and 7 merge requests is a bit too much, both for you and for the Git history and for the reviewer that will accept and merge your merge request. So I will actually commit, but then after a while I will amend my last commit and make sure that I have at least half of the PNG files updated. Of course, if a manual page has 40 screenshots, 40 PNG files, then I know you're probably not going to do more than 10 PNG files changed per git commit. So do strike a balance between very, very small git commits, which are advantageous because you're very careful, you're not doing something wrong, and then it's easier to be reviewed, merged, the merge request, and the time between the moment that you create the GitLab merge request and the moment that the merge request is being merged is going to be short, because again, a small merge request, a small git commit is easier to review, versus having hundreds of merge requests for a thing that's just actually one logical change. This would be, for example, in the case where you have a larger KDE graphical user interface application that has a larger handbook, and there's hundreds of screenshots in the handbook. Okay, so that would be for the git commit. I would actually do, again, half in a git commit and a merge request, and the other half in another git commit or a merge request, or just a single merge request, because there's just 7 screenshots to take. Okay, so these files are the screenshots that are part of the handbook, and the rest of the handbook is in this XML file. Okay, and then for the screenshots that are part of the app stream, let's actually see how that works. So there's a git repository, invent.k.org/website/product screenshots. And in here, there's just a ton of directories top level. One of these will be Clickety, this guy. In here, there should be just one file, clickety.png, which is the file that we can see in apps.k.org/clickety. Again, I would not take another screenshot. This screenshot is not great because the 5th button is missing from the main toolbar. The button that we saw that makes sense to be presented in screenshots, this one, play sounds. But we're not going to create churn in the Git history just because now we have this important change, the 2 bottom corners are rounded. So I would not refresh this screenshot until, I know, a number of years, maybe in 2027, if something changes in the buttons that are being shown in the main menu, in the main title, in the main toolbar, or maybe the cute theme that's recommended by the KDE community changes a bit, then I'm going to take the screenshot. Okay, and taking screenshots for upstream for products minus screenshots Git repository is going to be probably similar to what we did for product manuals, which is look at all of the PNG files that exist in here. In this case, there's just one, and then build the application using KDE builders such that we have a very fresh version of Clickety. And then I'm going to open this file in GIMP to see its exact sizes, both the size of the shadows and the size of the application. And then I'm going to resize the application as needed to be the same width and height of the application. And then I'm going to change the shadow size to be the same as the shadow size in the existing screenshots. But for product minus screenshots, probably I'm going to go with the default shadow size, which is large. So this one. System settings, shadow, window decoration, breeze, edit, shadows and outlines, and go back to large. And some of the settings that you change in system settings are being applied instantly to all of the applications that exist. Some of these settings will be applied to just applications that you start from that moment on, which means that after you change, for instance, the shadow, maybe it's a good idea to log out and then log back in, which is this action from the KDE Plasma main menu, start menu, session, and then log out and then log back in. I can see that the KWin decorations are applied on the fly and there's no need to log out. But to be extra safe that you're creating the best possible screenshots, just in case, I would log out and then log back in. It's very fast. So this is it. This is how you can take screenshots correctly, both for product minus screenshots Git repository and also for the product manuals. So the first type of screenshots all reside in this Git repository, product minus screenshots. The screenshots that are being used in apps.kde.org, in FlatHub, in the Snap Store, in KDE Plasma App Store, this one, Discover. Let's search for Clickety in here. Okay, and we want to find the one that's from the deb packages, not from Snap. So this one is from Snap. And this one is actually from deb packages, because I can see in here in the main toolbar it says install from Ubuntu, and there's no combo box in here to switch between Ubuntu deb packages, so binary packages from your Linux operating system, versus Snap versus FlatHub or other Flatpak remote that you have installed on your computer. Okay, I'm not sure why the screenshot doesn't look okay. It seems to be scaled. The L and I is too small. Yeah, so I'm not sure why it's performing scaling when it could not. Maybe because the screenshot is too tall. So in my opinion, the screenshots shown in the application Discover should not be scaled, because you want the application screenshots to look as well as possible, as realistic as possible. You want to showcase the application in the best light possible in all app stores, whether they are installed on your computer, the app store, or if the app store is on the web, in a web page. So this is it. This is how to improve screenshots. This is a easy way of contributing to the KDE community, a fast way to create merge requests. I'm sure that you can find a random application on apps.kde.org that uses Qt widgets, XML GUI, and has a product manual. In here, for instance, for Clickety, I can see that it's a KXML GUI application because it has a main menu, because it has a main toolbar, because the elements in the main toolbar that are not visible by default because the toolbar is not wide enough are going to be visible if you click on this greater than icon. And also I can see at the chapter Get Help, it says Clickety Handbook, and QML Kirigami applications tend to not have handbooks. That's why I'm saying that you probably want to choose in apps.kde.org an application that's created by the KDE community, that's graphical user interface application, and that uses Qt widgets, not QML, and uses KXML GUI. So again, find a random application from here, maybe I know Calcium, and indeed it's using Qt widgets, it's using XML GUI, I can see from the toolbar, main toolbar, and I can see that it has a handbook. The exception would be if the application has not been ported to Qt 6 yet. So probably you don't want to change screenshots for applications that still don't have a Qt 6 version because you're not going to be able to build the application using KDE Builder. And probably once the application is ported, it will look totally different. We can look at the product manual of, for this instance, this application Calcium in here. So I went to the apps.kde.org/calcium webpage, get help, Calcium handbook, and then I'm going to select the PDF and I'm going to actually look at all of the pages and see if they have screenshots. Yeah, yes, there's a screenshot. Again, old window decoration. The icons are probably monochrome right now for the left bar, this part. Yes, some of the screenshots are really hard to take because you want to create a screenshot that's as similar as possible to the existing screenshot, which means that you must select the AU element in here, you must have the same width, the same height, you must go to this information sidebar with on this tab overview, etc. In here you must select iron first. So yeah, some screenshots are really complicated to reproduce, but still somebody needs to refresh all of these screenshots from time to time. And maybe if there's hundreds of screenshots and you want to replace just the first 10, and that would create a product manual that has 10 screenshots that are new and 90 screenshots that are old. Maybe having a product manual that has both types of screenshots, both old and new, is not ideal. Maybe the reviewer that reviews your merge request will say, yes, let's postpone this and do change all of the screenshots from a manual page, from a handbook, all at once, in order to have a handbook that's unitary and has the same type of screenshots everywhere in the entire handbook. Okay, so this would be it. A fast way to create a merge request and a valuable contribution to the KDE community by improving or updating existing screenshots. Thank you.